This might be a very silly little concept that may not work very well, but I wanted to put out a new video, and I also wanted to read Gilgamesh. So I thought maybe, I don't know about you guys, but I process things a lot better when I'm reading them out loud, using my little voice. So I'm gonna give that a try. Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cute. Like, this is the sort of long video I find myself really enjoying when it's just someone hanging out doing something. So, get some water, get some tea, draw along if you like. This is a little drawing I was working on because I was feeling very intricate and particular and wanting to explore with that with a charcoal brush, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, overall a really good time. I like this piece. I ended up doing a bunch of color variations for it too, which is always exciting when it's like, well, when there's wiggle room in that way, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's that on that. Sit down, have fun, I hope. We'll see how this goes. Yeah. Okay, I'm kind of nervous. Alright, so this translation is the standard one, the He Who Saw the Deep translation. Yeah. I think we can just jump right in. Tablet 1, The Coming of Enkidu. He who saw the deep, the country's foundation, who knew, was wise in all matters. Gilgamesh, who saw the deep, the country's foundation, who knew, was wise in all matters. He everywhere, and learned of everything the sum of wisdom. He saw what was secret, discovered what was hidden. He brought back a tale of before the deluge. He came a far road, was weary, found peace, and set all his labors on a tablet of stone. He put the rampart of Uruk the sheepfold, of Holiana, and sacred storehouse. See its wall like a strand of wool, view its parapet that none could copy. Take the stairway of a bygone era, draw nearer to Aena, seat of Ishtar the goddess, that no later king could ever copy. Climb Uruk's wall and walk back and forth, survey its foundations, examine the brickwork. Were its bricks not fired in an oven? Did the 7 sages not lay its foundations? A square mile is city, a square mile date grove, a square mile is clay pit, half a square mile the temple of Ishtar, 3 square miles and a half is Uruk's expanse. See the tablet box of cedar, release the clasp of bronze, lift the lid of its secret, pick up the tablet of lapis lazuli and read out the travels of Gilgamesh and all that he went through. Surpassing all other kings heroic in stature, brave Sion of Uruk, wild bull on the rampage. Going at the force, he was the vanguard. Going at the fore, he was the vanguard. Going at the rear, one of his comrades could trust. A mighty bank protecting his warriors. A violent flood wave, smashing a stone wall. Wild bull of Legplunda. Gilgamesh, the perfect in strength, suckling at the august wild cow, the goddess Ninsun. Gilgamesh the tall, magnificent and terrible, who opened passes in the mountains, who dug the wells on the slopes of the uplands. Hang on, I want to make sure this is actually recording. That'd be pretty funny. It was. We're all good. Who opened passes in the mountains, who dug wells on the slopes of the uplands and crossed the ocean, the wide sea, to the sunrise, who scoured the world ever searching for life, and reaching through sheer force of will Utanapishti, the distant, who restored the cult centers destroyed by the deluge, and set in place for the people the rights of the cosmos. Who is there can rival his kingly standing, and say like Gilgamesh, "It is I am the king." Gilgamesh was his name from the day he was born, 2/3 of him god and 1/3 human. It was the lady of the gods drew the form of his figure, while his build was perfected by the divine Nudimud. A triple cubit was his foot, half a rod his leg, 6 cubits was his stride. Cubits the front part of his. His cheeks were bearded like those of the hair of his head grew thickly as barley. When he grew tall, his beauty was consummate. By earthly standards, he was most handsome. In Uruk the sheepfold, he walks back and forth like a wild bull lording it, head held aloft. He has no equal when his weapons are brandished. His companions are kept on their feet by his contests. The young man of Uruk he harries without warrant. Gilgamesh lets no son go free to his father. By day and by night his tyranny grows harsher. Gilgamesh, the guide of the teeming people. It is he who is shepherd of the Uruk of the sheepfold. But Gilgamesh lets no daughter go free to her mother. The woman voiced their troubles to the goddess. They brought their complaint before them. Though powerful, preeminent expert, and mighty Gilgamesh lets no girl go free to her bridegroom. The warrior's daughter, the young man's bride, to the complaint the goddess paid heed. The goddess of heaven, the lord of initiative, and the good Anu they spoke. And to the god Anu they spoke. A savage wild bull you have bred in Uruk the sheepfold. He has no equal when his weapons are brandished. His companions are kept on their feet by his contests. The young men of Uruk he harries without warrant. Gilgamesh lets no son go free to his father. By day and by night his tyranny grows harsher. Yet he is the shepherd of Uruk the sheepfold, Gilgamesh, the guide of the teeming people. Though he is their shepherd and their protector, powerful, preeminent, expert, and mighty, Gilgamesh lets no girl go free to her bridegroom. The warrior's daughter, the young man's pride, to their complaint. I read all of that already. I thought it was repeating the stanza for, effect, but that's not what happened. Oh. Well, that's fine. This is just a fun, casual time. It's just you and me hanging out, and there's no mistakes when you're chilling. The warrior's daughter and the young man's bride, to their complaint the god Anu paid heed. So there's a little translator note. The stanza which gives Anu's reaction has been dropped in the late edition of the epic, but by good fortune it is preserved on a short extract from an older version of the text, which was written by a student scribe on an exercise tablet found in the city of Nippur. So cool. Let them summon Aruru, the Great One. It was created them, mankind so numerous. Let her create the equal of Gilgamesh, one mighty in strength, and let him vie with him, so Uruk may be rested. The tablet afterwards continues. They summoned Aru, the Great One. You, Aru, created mankind. Now fashion what Anu has thought of. Let him be a match for the storm of his heart. Let them vie with each other, so Uruk may be rested. The goddess Aruru heard these words, that Anu had thought as she fashioned within her. The goddess Aruru washed her hands, took a pinch of clay, threw it down in the wild. In the wild she created Enkidu, the hero, offspring of silence, knit strong by Niruta. All his body is matted with hair. He bears long tresses like those of a woman. The hair of his head grows thickly as barley. He knows not a people, nor even a country. coated in hair like the god of animals. With gazelles he grazes on grasses, joining the throng with the game at the water-hole, his heart delighting with the beasts of the water. A hunter, a trapper man, did come upon him by the water-hole. One day, a second, and then a third, he came upon him by the water-hole. When the hunter saw him, his expression froze. But he with his herds, he went back to his lair. The hunter was troubled, subdued, and silent. His mood was despondent, his features gloomy. In his heart there was sorrow. His face resembled one come from afar. The hunter opened his mouth to speak, saying to his father, "My father, there was a man come by the water-hole, mightiest in the land, strength he possesses. His strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. Over the hills he roams all day. Always with the herd he grazes on grasses, always his tracks are found by the water-hole. I am afraid, and I dare not approach him. He fills in the pits that I myself dig. He pulls up the snares that I lay. He sets free from my grasp all the beasts of the field. He stops me doing the work of the wild." His father opened his mouth to speak, saying to the hunter, "My son, in the city of Uruk, go seek out Gilgamesh. In his presence, his strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. Take the road, set your face toward Uruk. Do not delay on the strength of a man. Go, my son, and fetch Samat the harlot. Her allure is a match for even the mighty. When the herd comes, and down to the water-hole, she should strip off her raiment to reveal her charms. He will see her, he will approach her. His herd will spurn him, though he grew up amongst it." Paying heed to the advice of his father, the hunter went off, set out on the journey. He took the road, set his face toward Uruk. Before Gilgamesh the King, he spoke these words. "There was a man came by the water-hole, mightiest in the land. Strength he possesses. His strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. Over the hills he roams all day. Always with the herd he grazes on grasses. Always his tracks are found by the water-hole. I am afraid, and I dare not approach him. He fills in the pits that I myself dig. He pulls up the snares that I lay. He lets free from my grasp all the beasts of the field. He stops me from doing the work of the wild." Said Gilgamesh to him, to the hunter, "Go, hunter, take with you Shamat the harlot. Then the herd comes down to the water-hole. She should strip off her raiment to reveal her charms. He will see her and will approach her. His herd will spurn him, though he grew up amongst it." Off went the hunter, taking Shamat the harlot. They set out on the road. They started the journey. On the third day they came to their destination. Hunter and harlot sat there to wait. One day and a second they waited by the water-hole. Then the herd came down to drink the water. The game arrived, their hearts delighting in water, and Enkidu also, born in the uplands. With the gazelles he grazed on grasses, joining the throng and the game at the water-hole, his heart delighting with the beasts in the water. Then Shamat saw him, the child of nature, the savage man from the midst of the wild. I told everyone else to get water, but then I did not get water. I'm going to pause. Okay, now I have water and a lozenge. We're really doing the most. Okay. This is he, Shamat. Uncradle your bosom, bare your sex, let him take your charms. Do not recoil, but take in his scent. He will see you and will approach you. Spread your clothing so he may lie on you. Do for the man the work of a woman. Let his passion caress and embrace you. His herd will spurn him, though he grew up amongst it. Oh my goodness. Shamat unfastened the cloth of her loins, bared her sex, and he took in her charms. She did not recoil. She took on in his scent. I'm just wondering, I don't have to worry about demonetization of these. Then they have a good time, and I'm gonna skip some of this. It feels, it's like, this is a, 3,000, 4,000-year-old poem, and just talking about the nature of humanity and the nature of storytelling, and it's silly to be embarrassed about it because it's something that's withstood this test of time, but also I don't really want to read it out loud. I have 11 roommates. Okay, let's do this. With when with her delights he was fully sated, he turned his gaze to his herd. The gazelles saw Enkidu and they started to run. The beasts of the field shied away from his presence. Enkidu had defiled his body so pure. His legs stood still, though his herd was in motion. Enkidu was weakened, could not run as before, but now he had reason and wide understanding. He came back and sat at the feet of the harlot, watching the harlot, observing her features. Then to the harlot's words he listened intently as Shamat talked to him, to Enkidu. You are handsome, Enkidu. You are just like a god. Why with the beasts do you wander the wild? Come, I will take you to Uruk the sheepfold, to the sacred temple, the home of Anu and Ishtar, where Gilgamesh is perfect in strength, like a wild bull lording over the menfolk. So she spoke to him, and her word found favor. He knew by instinct that he should seek a friend. Said Enkidu to her, to the harlot, Come, Shamat, take me along to the sacred temple, holy home of Anu and Ishtar, where Gilgamesh is perfect in strength, like a wild bull lording over the menfolk. I will challenge him, for my strength is mighty. I will vaunt myself. I will vaunt myself in Uruk, saying I am the mightiest. There I shall change the way things are ordered. One born in the wild is mighty, strength he possesses. Shamat, let the people see your face. That exists I know indeed. Go, Enkidu, to the Uruk the sheepfold, where young men are girt with waistbands. Every day in Uruk there is a festival. The drums are there rap out a beat. There are harlots, most comely of figure, graced with charm and full of delights. Even the aged they rouse from their beds. O Enkidu, as yet so ignorant of life, I will show you Gilgamesh, a man happy and carefree. Look at him, regard his features. He is fair in manhood, dignified in bearing, graced with charm is his whole person. He is a strength more mighty than yours, and sleeping he is by day and by night. O Enkidu, cast aside your sinful thoughts. Gilgamesh is whom divine Shamash loves. The gods Anu, Enlil, and Ea have broadened his wisdom. Before you even came from the uplands, Gilgamesh in Uruk was seeing you in dreams. Gilgamesh rose to relate a dream, saying to his mother, O mother, this is the dream I had in the night. The stars of the heaven appeared above me. Like a rock from the sky, one fell down before me. I lifted it up, but it weighed too much for me. I tried to roll it, but I could not dislodge it. The land of Uruk was standing around it. The land was gathered about it. A crowd was milling about before it. The menfolk were thronging around it. Like a babe in arms, they were kissing its feet. Like a wife, I loved it, caressed and embraced it. I lifted it up, set it down at your feet, and you, O mother, you made it my equal. Don't mind me, Googling. No, I'm on YouTube here. I recorded this months ago. Yeah, did Aaron Tveit do a cover of Mr. Cellophane? And it sounds like he hasn't, which is an insane thing, because I feel like his voice is really well suited for that song. Anyway, my bad. This is one of my favorite parts. And you, O mother, made it my equal. The mother of Gilgamesh was clever and wise, well versed in everything. She said to her son, Wild Cow Ninsun was clever and wise, well versed in everything, she said to Gilgamesh. The stars of heaven appeared above you. Like a rock from the sky, one fell down before you. You lifted it up, but it weighed too much for you. You tried to roll it, but you could not dislodge it. You lifted it up, set it down at my feet, and I, Nunsun, made it your equal. Like a wife you loved it, caressed it, and embraced it. A mighty comrade will come to you, and to be his friends, and be his friend's savior. Mightiest in the land, strength he possesses. His strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. Like a wife you'll love him, caress him, and embrace him. He will be mighty, and will often save you. Having had a second dream, he rose and entered before the goddess, his mother, said Gilgamesh to her, to his mother. Once more, O mother, I have had a dream. In a street of the Uruk, the town square, an axe was lying and the crowd gathered around. The land of Uruk was standing around it, the country was gathered about it. A crowd was milling about before it. The menfolk were thronging around it. I lifted it up and sat it down at your feet. Like a wife I loved it, caressed it and embraced it, and you, O mother, you made it my equal. The mother of Gilgamesh was clever and wise, well versed in everything. She said to her son, Wild Cow Ninsun was clever and wise, well versed in everything. She said to Gilgamesh, My son, the axe you saw is a friend. Like a wife you'll love him, caress and embrace him, and I, Ninsun, will make him your equal. A mighty comrade will come to you and be his friend's savior, mightiest in the land. Strength he possesses. His strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. Said Gilgamesh to her, his mother, May it befall me, O mother, by counselor Enlil's command. Let me acquire a friend to counsel me. A friend to counsel me I will acquire. So did Gilgamesh see his dreams. After Shamat had told Enkidu of the dreams of Gilgamesh, the two of them together began making love. And here's tablet 2. I'm not censoring this time. That really was the last line for that. Enkidu was sitting before her. And then there's a note that says, Alisuna follows the opening line of tablet 2, where the next text resumes the lines they're still not fully recovered. Wow, that was more difficult than it should have been. The big old Babylonian Pennsylvania tablet. What? Supplies a better preserved account, the one that partially overlaps with tablet 1. While the two of them together were making love, he forgot the wild where he was born for 7 days and 7 nights. Okay, so we're going over this stuff again. For 7 days and 7 nights, Enkidu was erect and coupled with Shamat. The harlot opened her mouth, saying to Enkidu, As I look at you, Enkidu, you are like a god. Why with the beasts do you wander the wild? Come, I will lead you to Uruk the town square, to the sacred temple, to the home of Anu. Enkidu, rise. Let me take you to the temple Iana, the home of Anu, where men are engaged in labors of skill. You too, like a man, will find a place for yourself. Her words he heard. Her speech found favor. The counsel of a woman struck home in his heart. She stripped and clothed him in part of her garment, and the other part she put on herself. The text of tablet 2 resumes. By the hand she took him, like a god she led him to the shepherd's camp, the site of the sheep pen. The band of shepherds was gathered around him, talking about him amongst themselves. This fellow, how like in build he is to Gilgamesh, tall in stature, proud as a battlement. For sure it's Enkidu, born in the uplands. mountains. His strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. Bread they sat before him, ale they sat before him. Enkidu ate not the bread, but looked askance. Here Tablet 2 becomes fragmentary again, and the episode is best taken from the old Babylonian Pennsylvania tablet. How to eat bread Enkidu knew not. How to drink ale he had never been shown. The harlot opened her mouth, saying to Enkidu, "Eat the bread, Enkidu, essential to life. Drink the ale, the lot of the land." Enkidu ate the bread until he was sated. He drank the ale, a full 7 goblets. His mood became free, he started to sing. His heart grew merry, his face lit up. The barber groomed his body so hairy, anointed with oil, he turned into a man. He put on a garment like a warrior. He took up his weapon to do battle with lions. The text of Tablet 2 resumes again. When at night the shepherds lay sleeping, he struck down wolves and he chased off lions. Sleeping lay the senior shepherds, their shepherd boy Enkidu, a man wide awake. A certain fellow had been invited to a wedding to Uruk the sheepfold. He was going for the banquet. Here another Lasuna intervenes in Tablet 2, where the old Babylonian tablet, again, helps to fill. I'm not sure if these little asides are important or meaningful if they just break the flow of the poetry, but it's fine. Enkidu was having his pleasure with Shamat. He lifted his eyes, caught sight of the man, and thus he spoke to the harlot. Shamat, bring the man over. Why he came here, let me learn his reason. The harlot hailed the man. She went up to him, spoke to him. Where do you hurry to, fellow? What is your journey so toilsome? The fellow opened his mouth, saying to Enkidu, I was invited to a wedding banquet. Banquet! It is the lot of people to contract a marriage. I shall load the ceremonial table with tempting foods for the wedding feast. For the king of Uruk the town square, the veil will be parted for the one who picks first. For Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk the town square, the veil will be parted for the one who picks first. He will couple with the wife-to-be, he first of all, the bridegroom after. By divine consent it is so ordained. When his navel cord was cut, for him she was destined. At the fellow's words he paled in anger. Off goes Enkidu, with Shamat following. He entered the city of Uruk, the town square, and a crowd gathered around them. He came to a halt in the street of Uruk, the town square. All gathered about, the people discussed him. In build he is the image of Gilgamesh, but shorter in stature and bigger of bone. For sure it's the man. It's the one who was born in the uplands. Animal's milk is what he was suckled on. In Uruk they had regular festivals of sacrifice. Young men made merry, set up a champion. I almost said champagne. For the fellow whose features were fair, for Gilgamesh like a god was set up a rival. For the goddess of weddings the bed was laid out. Gilgamesh met with the maiden by night. Forward came Enkidu, and he stood in the street, blocking the path of Gilgamesh. The text of Tablet 2 becomes legible once more. The land of Uruk was standing around him, the land was gathered about him. A crowd was milling about before him, the menfolk were thronging around him. Like a babe in arms, they were kissing his feet, already the fellow. For the goddess of weddings was ready the bed, for Gilgamesh, like a god, was set up a substitute. Enkidu with his foot blocked the door of the wedding house, not allowing Gilgamesh to enter. They sized each other up at the door of the wedding house. In the street they joined in combat in the square of the land. The door jambs shook, the wall did shudder. In the street Gilgamesh and Enkidu joined combat in the square of the land. The door jambs shook, the wall did shudder. Another Lasuna intervenes, again partially to be filled by the old Babylonian Pennsylvania tablet. Gilgamesh knelt, 1 foot on the ground. His anger subsided. He broke off from the fight. After he broke off from the fight, said Enkidu to him, to Gilgamesh, As one unique your mother bore you, the wild cow of the field, the goddess Ninsun. High over warriors you were exalted to be the king of the people, and Nil made it your destiny. At this point, the old Babylonian Pennsylvania tablet ends. Its sequel, the Yale tablet, is less well preserved. In the first intelligible episode, Enkidu is speaking to Gilgamesh. Why do you desire to do this thing? Anything do you want so much? Let me. A feat never was done in the land. They kissed each other and formed a friendship. After another Lacuna Tablet 2 resumes with an episode in which Gilgamesh introduces Enkidu to his mother. The mightiest in the land, strength he possesses. His strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. He is tall in stature, proud as a battlement. The mother of Gilgamesh opened her mouth to speak, saying to her son, Wild Cow Ninsun, opened her mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, My son, in his gate, bitterly you hold in his gate. There's nothing about this, there's nothing remaining from this part. Bitterly he. Enkidu poses no kith or kin, shaggy hair hanging loose. He was born in the wild and has no brother. Standing there, Enkidu heard what she said, and thinking it over, he sat down weeping. His eyes brimmed with tears. His arms fell limp, his strength ebbed away. They took a hold of each other, and they linked their hands like Gilgamesh to Enkidu. He spoke a word, saying, Why, my friend, did your eyes brim with tears? Your arms fall limp, your strength ebb away. Said Enkidu to him, to Gilgamesh, My friend, my heart is aggrieved. Though sobbing, my legs do tremble. Terror has entered my heart. The old Babylonian Yale tablet fills the gap in the standard version. Gilgamesh opened his mouth, saying to Enkidu, Ferocious Humbaba, let us slay him so his power is no more. In the forest of Cedar where Humbaba dwells, let us frighten him in his lair. Enkidu opened his mouth, saying to Gilgamesh, I know him, my friend in the upland. When I roamed here and there with the herd, for 60 leagues the forest was a wilderness. Who is there who would venture inside it? Humbaba. His voice is the deluge. His speech is fire and his breath is death. Why do you desire to do this thing? An unwinnable battle is Humbaba's ambush. Gilgamesh opened his mouth, saying to Enkidu, I will climb, my friend, the forest slopes. The text of Tablet 2 resumes. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, My friend, how can we go to the home of Humbaba? So to keep safe the cedars, Enlil made his lot to terrify men. That is a journey which must not be made. That is a man who must not be looked on. He who guards the forest of cedar, his reach is wide. Humbaba, his voice is the deluge. His speech is fire, his breath is death. He hears the forest murmur at 60 leagues distance. Who is there would venture into his forest? Adad ranks first, and Humbaba the second. Who is there would oppose him among the Igigi? Igigi? Ooh, I don't know how to pronounce that one. So to keep safe the cedars, Enlil laid it to his lot to terrify men. If you penetrate his forest, you are seized by the tremors. Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, Why, my friend, do you speak like a weakling? With your spineless words you make me despondent. As for man, his days are numbered. Whatever he may do is but wind. Exist not for me. You were born and grew up in the wild. Even lions were afraid of you. You experienced all. Grown men fled away from your presence. Your heart is tried and tested in combat. Come, my friend, let us hie on the forge. A short lasuna follows, can be filled with the old Babylonian Yale tablet. Let them cast us hatchets in our presence. They look at each other. Oh my gosh, getting clumsy. They took each other by the hand and hied to the forge, where the smiths were sitting in consultation. Great hatchets they cast, and axes weighing 3 talents apiece. Great daggers they cast, 2 talents apiece were the blades, 1/2 a talent the crests their handles, 1/2 a talent apiece the daggers' gold mountings. Gilgamesh and Enkidu bore 10 talents each. He bolted the 7-fold gates of Uruk. He convened the assembly. The crowd gathered around in the street of Uruk, the town square. Gilgamesh seated himself on his throne. In the seat of Uruk, the town square, the crowd was sitting before him. Thus Gilgamesh spoke to the elders of Uruk, the town square. Hear me, O elders of Uruk, the town square. I would tread the path to ferocious Humbaba. I would see the god for whom men talk, whose names the land do constantly repeat. I would conquer him in the forest of Cedar. Let the land learn Uruk's offshoot is mighty. Let me start out. I will cut down the cedar. I will establish forever a name eternal. I'm going to take a sip of water. The text of Tablet 2 resumes. Then Gilgamesh spoke to the young men of the Uruk the sheepfold. Hear me, O young men of the Uruk sheepfold, O young men of Uruk who understand combat. Bold as I am, I shall tread the distant path to the home of Humbaba. I shall face a battle I know not. I shall ride a road I know not. Give me your blessing as I go on my journey, so I may see again your faces in safety, and return glad at heart through Uruk's gate. On my return, I will celebrate New Year twice over. I will celebrate the festival twice in the year. Let the festival take place and the merriment begin. Let the drums resound before wild Kaunin sun. Enkidu offered counsel to the elders and the young men of Uruk who understood combat. Tell him not to go to the forest of Cedar. That is a journey which must not be made. This is a man who must not be looked on, he who guards the forest of Cedar, and his reach is wide. This Humbaba, his voice is the deluge, his speech is fire, and his breath is death. He hears the forest murmur at 60 leagues distance. Who is there would venture into his forest? Adad ranks first, and Humbaba second. Who is there would oppose him among the Agg? So, to keep safe the cedars, Enlil made it his lot to terrify men. If you penetrate his forest, you are seized by the tremors. The senior advisors rose. Good counsel they offered Gilgamesh. You are young, Gilgamesh, borne along by emotion. All that you talk of you don't understand. This Humbaba, his voice is the deluge, his speech is fire, his breath is death. He hears the forest murmur at 60 leagues distance. Who is there would venture into his forest? Adad ranks first, and Humbaba second. Who is there would oppose him among the Agg? So it keeps safe the cedars. Enlil made his lot to terrify men. Gilgamesh heard the words of the senior advisors. He looked with a laugh at Enkidu. Now, my friend, how frightened I am. In fear of him I shall change my mind. The rest of Tablet 2, perhaps 20 lines, containing Gilgamesh's reply to his counselors, is lost. Tablet 3, preparations for the expedition to the forest of Cedar. So clearly, he decides to just keep going with it. The elders of the Uruk sheepfold spoke to Gilgamesh. To Uruk's quay, come back in safety. Do not rely, O Gilgamesh, on your strength alone. Look long and hard, land a blow you can count on. Who goes in front saves his companion. Who knows the road protects his friend. Let Enkidu go before you. He knows the journey of to the forest of Cedar. He is tested in battle and tried in combat. He shall guard his friends and keep safe his companion. Enkidu shall bring him safe home to his wives. To Enkidu, in our assembly we place the king in your care. You bring him back and replace him in ours. Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, Come, my friend, let us go to the palace sublime, into the presence of the great queen Ninsun. Ninsun is clever and wise, well versed in everything. She will set our feet in steps of good counsel. Taking each other hand in hand. God, they just walk around everywhere holding hands. It's very sweet. Anyway, taking each other hand in hand, Gilgamesh and Enkidu went to the palace sublime, into the presence of the great queen Ninsun. Gilgamesh rose and entered before her. Said Gilgamesh to her, to Ninsun, I shall tread, O Ninsun, bold as I am, the distant path to the home of Humbaba. I shall face a battle I know not. I shall ride a road I know not. I beseech you, give me your blessing for my journey. Let me see your face again in safety, and return glad at heart through Uruk's gate. On my return, I will celebrate New Year twice over. I will celebrate the festival twice in the year. Let the festival take place, the merriment begin. Let the drums resound in your presence. Wild Cow Ninsun listened long and with sadness to the words of Gilgamesh, her son, and Enkidu. Into the bathhouse she went 7 times. She bathed herself in water and tamarisk and soapwort. She donned a fine dress to adorn her body. She chose a jewel to adorn her breast. Having put on her cap, she donned her tiara, the harlots, the ground. She climbed the staircase and went up on the roof. On the roof she sat up at a censer to Shamash. Scattering incense, she lifted her arms to appeal to the sun god. Why did you afflict my son Gilgamesh with so restless a spirit? For now you have touched him, and he will tread the distant path to the home of Humbaba. He will face a battle he knows not. He will ride a road he knows not. During the days of his journey, there and back, until he reaches the forest of Cedar, until he slays ferocious Humbaba and annihilates the land of evil thing you abhor. Each day when you travel the circuit of the earth, may Ea the bride unfearing remind you, entrust him to the care of the watches of the night. At eventide, you opened, O Shamash, the gates for the herd to get out. You came forth for the land, the uplands took shape, the heavens grew bright, the beasts of the wild your ruddy glow. At the coming forth of your light, it gathered the crowd, the divine Anunnaki await your brilliance. May Ea the bride unfearing remind you, entrust him to the care of the watches of the night. While Gilgamesh travels to the forest of Cedar, oh my goodness, that's a really beautiful passage. I'm a little flustered. That's nice, I like that. While Gilgamesh travels to the forest of Cedar, let the days be long, let the nights be short, let his loins be girt, let his stride be sure. Let him pitch at nightfall for a camp for the night. Let nighttime, may Ea the bride unfearing remind you, the day Gilgamesh and Enkidu encounter Humbaba. O Shamash, rouse against Humbaba the mighty gale winds, south wind, north wind, east wind, and west wind, blast, counterblast, typhoon, hurricane, and tempest, devil wind, frost wind, gale, and tornado. Let rise 13 winds, and Humbaba's face darken. Let the weapons of Gilgamesh then reach Humbaba, after your very own fires are kindled. At that time, O Shamash, turn your face to the supplicant. Your fleet-footed mules shall bear you onwards, a restful seat, A bed for the night shall be what awaits you. The gods, your brothers, shall bring food to delight you. Aya the bride will wipe your face dry with the fringe of her garment. Again, wild cow Ninsun made her request before Shamash. O Shamash, will not Gilgamesh, the gods, will he not share the heavens with you? Will he not share the moon and the scepter and crown? Will he not grow wise with the Ea and the ocean below? Will he not rule with Irania in near... Oh, I just said it without reading. Irnina. Yeah, Irnina, the black-headed people. Will he not dwell with... Oh... Ning Ishizida. Ning Shizida. Ning Ishizida. And the land of no return. Let me make him O Shamash, lest he in the forest of Cedar. After Wild Cow Ninsun had charged Shamash thus, Wild Cow Ninsun was clever and wise, well versed in everything, the mother of Gilgamesh. She mothered the censer and came down from the roof. She summoned Enkidu and declared her will. O mighty Enkidu, you are not sprung from my womb, but henceforth your brood will belong with the votaries of Gilgamesh, the priestess, the Aerodiols, and the women of the temple. She put the symbols on Enkidu's neck. The priestess took in the foundling, and the divine daughters brought up the foster child. Enkidu, whom I love, I take for my son. Enkidu in brotherhood, Gilgamesh shall favor him. Also, while you travel together to the forest of Cedar, let the days be long, let the nights be short, let your loins be girt, let your stride be sure. At nightfall, pitch a camp for the night. Let protect. After another Lasuna, there follows an episode in which Gilgamesh and Enkidu apparently perform rituals in aid of safe journey, but it remains very badly damaged. Damn. That sucks. That's such a cool... Man. Gilgamesh, his... to the gate of Cedar, Enkidu in the chapel, and Gilgamesh in the chapel of juniper incense. Members of the were present. That's all we got. By the command of Shamash, you will attain your desire in the gate of Marduk, in the breast of the water, in the bag, in the gate of Cedar knot, Gilgamesh and Enkidu. At 20 leagues you should break bread. After a long Lasuna, Gilgamesh gives instructions for the running of the city in his absence. During the days of our journey, there and back, until we reach the forest of Cedar, until we slay ferocious Humbaba, and annihilate from the land of the... Sorry, I got distracted by what's going on screen. I think I'm picking a color palette. Yeah, that's what's going on. Alright, anyway. Oh, since the flow, I'm gonna take a drink. Okay, let's get into this governing of the city while he's gone. During the days of our journey there and back, until we reach the forest of Cedar, until we slay ferocious Humbaba, and annihilate from the land of evil things Shamash abhors, may you acquire know. The officers must not assemble young men in the street, judge the lawsuit of the weak, seek out, while we attain our desire like babes in arms, and plant our weapons in Humbaba's gate. The officers stood there wishing him well. The young men of Uruk ran behind in a mob, and the officers kissed his feet. To Uruk's quay come back safely. Do not rely, O Gilgamesh, on your strength alone. Look long and hard, land a blow you can count on. Who goes in front will save his comrade. Who knows the road shall guard his friend. Let Enkidu go before you. He knows the journey to the forest of Cedar. He is tested in battle and tried in combat. Though the mountain passes, he often journeyed. He shall guard his friend and keep safe his companion. Enkidu shall bring him safe home to his wives. To Enkidu, in our assembly we place the king in your care. You bring him back and replace him in ours. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, My friend, turn back. Do not pursue this journey. Please, do not do this. The rest of Tablet 3, perhaps 10 lines, is missing. The departure of the heroes is described in the old Babylonian Yale tablet, though the text becomes increasingly fragmentary. Enkidu opened his mouth, saying to Gilgamesh, Where you've set your mind, begin the journey. Let your heart have no fear. Keep your eyes on me. In the forest I knew his lair, and the ways too that Humbaba wanders. Speak to the crowd and send them home. They should not go with me. To you, the crowd with happy heart. They heard what he had said. The young men, a fervent prayer. Go, Gilgamesh. May your God go before you. May Shamash let you attain your goal. Gilgamesh and Enkidu went forth. And now we've got Tablet 4, the journey to the forest of Cedar. At 20 leagues they broke bread. At 30 leagues they pitched camp. 50 leagues they traveled in the course of a day. By the third day, a march of a month and a half. Nearer they drew to Mount Lebanon. Facing the sun, they dug a well. They put fresh water in. Gilgamesh climbed to the top of the mountain. To the hill he poured out an offering of flour. O mountain, bring me a dream, so I see a good sign. Enkidu made for Gilgamesh a house of the dream god. He fixed a door in its doorway to keep out the weather. In the circle he had drawn, he made him lie down, and falling flat like a net, lay himself in the doorway. Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees. Sleep fell upon him, that spills over people. In the middle of the night he reached his sleep's end. He rose and he spoke to his friend. My friend, did you not call me? Why have I wakened? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did a god not pass by? Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had the first dream. The dream that I had was an utter confusion. In a mountain valley, the mountain fell down on top of. Then we The one born in the wild knew how to give counsel. Enkidu spoke to his friend, gave his dream meaning. My friend, your dream is a good omen. The dream is precious and bodes us well. My friend, the mountain you saw could not be Humbaba. We shall capture Humbaba, him, and we shall slay. We shall cast down his corpse on the field of battle. The next morning we shall see a good sign from the sun god. At 20 leagues they broke bread. At 30 leagues they pitched camp. 50 leagues they had traveled in the course of a day. By the third day, a march of a month and a half. Nearer they drew to Mount Lebanon. Facing the sun, they dug a well. They put fresh water in. Gilgamesh climbed to the top of the mountain, to the hill. He poured out an offering of flour. O mountain, bring me a dream, so I may see a good sign. Enkidu made for Gilgamesh a house of the dream god. He fixed a door in the doorway to keep out the weather. In the circle he had drawn, he made him lie down, and falling flat like a net, lay himself in the doorway. Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees. Sleep fell upon him, that spills over people. In the middle of the night he reached his sleep's end. He rose and spoke to his friend. My friend, did you not call me? Why have I wakened? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did a god not pass by? Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had a second dream. Gilgamesh's relation of his second dream has not survived on Tablet 4, but the gap may be filled by a paraphrase of an earlier version of the epic, which comes from the Hittite capital Hetsua and dates to the Middle Babylonian period. My second dream surpasses the first. In my dream, my friend, a mountain, it threw me down. It held me by my feet. The brightness grew more intense. A man appeared, the comeliest in the land. His beauty was far beneath. His beauty from beneath the mountain. He pulled me out, and he gave me a drink of water, and my heart grew calm. On the ground, he set my feet. Enkidu spoke to him, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, we shall. He is different altogether. Humbaba is not the mountain. He is different altogether. Come, cast aside your fear." The text of Tablet 4 resumes. At 20 leagues they broke my throat's gonna kill me. I am gonna skip this. It's the same as the first and the second. Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had the third dream. The dream that I had was an utter confusion. Heaven cried aloud while earth did rumble. The day grew still, the darkness came forth. There was a flash of lightning, fire broke down. The flames flared up, death rained down, and the flashes of fire went out, where it was fallen into cinders. You were born in the wild, can we take counsel? Having heard the words of his friend, Enkidu gave the dream meaning, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, your dream is a good omen. Fine is its good message." The rest of Enkidu's explanation for the third dream is lost, but the lacuna in the Tablet 4 can be filled in part of the old Babylonian school tablet from Nippur. We draw, my friend, ever nearer the forest. The dreams are close, the battle soon. You will see the radiant auras of the god, of Humbaba, whom your thoughts you fear so much. Locking horns like a bull, you will batter him, force his head down with your strength. The old man you saw is your powerful god, the one who begot you, divine Lugalbanda. Text of Tablet 4 becomes available again. At 20 leagues, I can't do it. I can't do that one again. It's interesting that repetition is the longest. It's very, I imagine it would be very much like traveling, where it's day in, day out, sort of the same thing. So he's had a fourth dream. The details of the fourth dream and its explanation are not well preserved in Tablet 4, but the old Babylonian tablet from Nippur supplies a more complete version of the text. My friend, I have had the fourth. It surpasses my other three dreams. I saw a thunderbird in the sky. Up it rose like a cloud soaring above us. It was, its its visage distorted. Its mouth was fire, its breath was death. It was also a man. He was strange of form. And stood there in my dream. He bound its wings and took a hold of my arm. He cast it down before me, upon it. You saw a thunderbird in the sky. Up it rose like a cloud, soaring above us. Its visage distorted, its mouth was fire, its breath was death. You will fear its awesome splendor. I shall, in its foot, and let you arise. The man you saw was mighty Shamash. My friend, favorable is your dream. This Humbaba-like will be kindled upon him. We shall bind his wings, we shall stand upon him, and next morning we shall see a good sign from the sun god. He has a fifth dream that once again I will not be reading. Ooh, my friend, I had a dream. How ominous it was, how desolate, how unclear. I had taken me hold of a bull from the wild, and it clove. Wow, I think I'm getting a little tired. I had taken me a hold of a bull from the wild, as it clove the ground with its bellows, the clouds of dust raised thrust deep in the sky, and I, in front of it, leaned myself forward. Taking hold of, enclosed my arms, he extracted me, by force, my cheek, he gave me water to drink from his water skin. The god, my friend, we are going against, he is not the wild bull, he is different altogether. The wild bull you saw was shining Shamash. He will grasp our hands in time of peril. The one who gave you water to drink from his skin was your god who respects you, divine Mugobanda. We will join forces and do something unique, a feat that has never been in the land. Why, my friend, do your tears flow? O offshoot, sprung from Uruk's midst. Now stand, and Gilgamesh the King, offshoot sprung from Uruk's midst. Shamash heard what he had spoken. Straight away from the sky there cried out a voice. Hurry, stand against him. Humbaba must not enter his forest. He must not go down to the grove. He must not wrap himself in 7 cloaks. When he is wrapped in 6 he has shed. They, like a fierce wild bull, horns locked. He bellowed once, a bellow full of terror. The guardians of the forest was bellowing. Humbaba was thundering like the god of the storm. A long Lasuna intervenes, and then Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Have come down," and my arms grow stiff. Oh my goodness. Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "Why, my friend, do we speak like weaklings? Was it not we crossed all the mountains? Did not, before us, before we withdrew, my friend, experienced in combat, who battled? You, and you fear not, like a dervish, and changed. Let your shout resound like a kettle drum. Let the stiffness leave your arms and the tremors your knees. Take my hand, friend, and we shall go on together. Let your thoughts dwell in combat. Forget death and seek life. The careful man, let him who first be on guard for himself, and bring his comrade to safety. Is it they made him name for days long in the future? At the distant, the 2 of them arrived. They ceased their talking and came to a halt. And we're on tablet 5 now. Look at us. It's only been an hour. I don't think there's going to be much excitement about a video like this, but I think it's cute. So I went on a big rant and it stopped recording, which is perhaps a sign. But I you know what? I'm gonna repeat myself. I just think it's very the second half of the story is so compelling because it frames grief as a driving force that's not paralyzing, but forces you on an adventure, and I just think that's very neat. It's such a, I don't know, a unique drive for like fear and grief to be the thing that moves you forward. Yeah, so I might end up doing a second part where I finish this. We'll see. We'll see. I think, yeah, let's get on with tablet 5, huh? The combat with Humbaba. They stood there marveling at the forest, gazing at the lofty cedars, gazing at forest's entrance. Where Humbaba came and went there was a track. The path was straight and the way well trodden. They saw the mountain of cedar, seat of the gods and the goddess's throne. On the face of the mountain the cedar proffered its abundance. Its shade was sweet and full of delight. Thick tangled was its thorn, the forest a shrouding canopy. Cedar, balaku trees. Baluku trees? After Lasuna intervenes, text continues, though is not completely recovered. At once the dirks, and from the scabbards the axes were smeared. Hatchet and dirk in one, they stole into Humbaba. Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "What, my friend?" For a nil, Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, Humbaba, 1-to-1. 2 garments, however, even a glass of soap, 2 climbing can conquer, 2 a 3-ply rope, not easily broken. Even a mighty lion 2 cubs can overcome." A fragment of this conversation is also preserved on a second old Babylonian tablet from Tel Hamal. "We have come to a place where a man shouldn't go. Let us set our weapons and the gate of Humbaba," Enkidu declared to his friend. "A tempest onslaught is ferocious. Humbaba, like the god of the storm, he will trample us down." When the text of Tablet 5 resumes, the heroes are face to face with the forest's guardian. So I guess that plea did not go well. Humbaba opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Let fools take counsel, Gilgamesh, with the rude and the brutish. Why have you come here into my presence?" "Come, Enkidu, you spawn of a fish who knew no father, hatchling of terrapin turtle, who sucked no mother's milk. In your youth I watched you, but near you I went not. Would your have filled my belly? Now in treachery you bring before me Gilgamesh, and stand there, Enkidu, like a warlike stranger. I will slit the throat and gullet of Gilgamesh. I will feed his flesh to the locust bird, ravening eagle and vulture." Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "My friend, Humbaba's features have changed. Though bodily we come up to his lair to defeat him, yet my heart will not quickly." Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Why, my friend, do you speak like a weakling? With your spineless words you make me despondent. Now, my friend, but one is our task. The copper is already pouring into the mold. To stoke the furnace for an hour, to the coals for an hour, to send the deluge is to crack the whip. Don't draw back, don't make a retreat, make your blow mighty." He smote the ground and faced him head-on. At the heels of their feet the earth burst asunder. They shattered as they whirled. Mounts Syrian and Lebanon, black became the clouds of white, raining down on them death like a mist. Shamash roused against Humbaba the mighty gale winds, south wind, north wind, east wind, and west wind, blast, counterblast, typhoon, hurricane and tempest, devil wind, frost wind, gale and tornado. There rose 13 winds, and the face of Humbaba darkened. He could not charge forward. He could not kick backward. The weapons of Gilgamesh had reached Humbaba. In a plea for his life, said Humbaba to Gilgamesh, "You are so young, Gilgamesh. Your mother just bore you. But indeed you are the offspring of the wild cow Ninsun. By Shemash's command the mountains you flattened. O offshoot sprung from Uruk's midst, Gilgamesh the King. Gilgamesh the dead man cannot, alive for his lord. Spare my life, O Gilgamesh. Let me dwell here, for you in the forest of Cedar. Trees as many as you command. I will guard your myrtle, timber be the pride of your place. What? Timber to be the pride of your palace." Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Do not listen, my friend, to Humbaba's words. Ignore his supplications." Humbaba opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "You are experienced in the ways of my forest. The ways. Also, you know all the arts of speech. You should have picked up and hanged you. I should have picked you up and hanged you from a sapling at the way into the forest. I should have fed your flesh to the locust bird, ravening eagle, and vulture. Now, Enkidu, my release lies with you. Tell Gilgamesh to spare my life." Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, Humbaba, who guards the forest of Cedar, finish him, slay him, do away with his power. Humbaba, who guards of the forest of Cedar, finish him, slay him, do away with his power, before Enlil the foremost hears what we do. The great gods will take against us in anger, Enlil and Nippur, Shamash and Larsa, establish forever a fame that endures, how Gilgamesh slew ferocious Humbaba." Humbaba heard what Enkidu was saying. He lifted his head and... Humbaba opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "You sit before him like a shepherd, like his hireling doing his bidding. Now, Enkidu, my release lies with you. Tell Gilgamesh to spare my life." Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend Humbaba, who guards the forest of Cedar, finish him, slay him, do away with his power, before Enlil foremost hears what we do. The great gods will take against us in anger, Enlil and Nippur, Shamash and Larsa, establish forever a fame that endures. Now how Gilgamesh slew ferocious Humbaba." Humbaba heard and bitterly cursed them. May the pair of them not grow old. Besides Gilgamesh his friend, none shall bury Enkidu. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, I speak to you, but you do not hear me. Let those curses return to his mouth." Gilgamesh heard the words of his friend. He drew forth the dirk at his side. Gilgamesh smote him in the neck, Enkidu while he pulled out his lungs. Springing up from the head, he took the tusks as booty. Rain in plenty fell on the mountain, and plenty fell on the mountain. A different version of the slaying of Humbaba and his minions, but better preserved, is given in old Babylonian tablet from Ishchale. Oh, some art. Said Gilgamesh to Enkidu, "Now, my friend, we must impose our victory. The auras slip away in the thicket. The auras slip away, their radiance grows dim." Said Enkidu to Gilgamesh, "My friend, catch a bird and where go its chicks? Oh. Let us look for the auras later. Let the chicks run here and there in the thicket. Smite him again. Slay his servant alongside him." Gilgamesh heard the word of his companion, took up his axe in hand, drew forth the dirk from his belt. Gilgamesh smote him in the neck. His friend Enkidu gave encouragement. He fell. The ravines did run with his blood. Humbaba the guardian smote the ground 2 leagues afar, with him slew the woods he. He slew the ogre, the forest's guardian, at whose yell was sundered the peaks of Syrian and Lebanon. The mountains did quake, all the hillsides did tremble. He slew the ogre, the cedar's guardian, the broken. As soon as he had slain all 7 of the auras, the war net of 2 talents weight, and the dirk of 8. A load of 10 talents he took up. He went down to trample the forest. He discovered the secret abode of the gods. Gilgamesh felling the trees, Enkidu choosing the timber. After a gap, the text of Tablet 5 resumes. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, we have felled a lofty cedar, whose top thrust up into the sky. I will make a door, 6 rods in height, 2 rods in breadth, 1 cubit in thickness, whose poles and pivots, top and bottom, will be of a piece. At this point, Tablet 5 is badly damaged. A better preserved version of the episode is known from an old Babylonian tablet of unknown provenance, now in Baghdad. He went trampling through the forest of Cedar. He discovered the secret abode of the gods, the well-born, the wild-born, knew how to give counsel. He said to his friend, "By your strength alone you slew the guardian. What can bring you dishonor? Lay low in the forest of cedar. Seek out for me a lofty cedar whose crown is high as the heavens. I will make a door of a reed's length's breadth. Let it not have a pivot. Let it travel in the door jamb. Its side will be a cubit, a reed length its breadth. Let no stranger draw near it. Let a god have love for it. To the house of Enil the Euphrates shall bear it. Let the folk of Nippur rejoice over it. Let the god Enil delight in it." The text of Tablet 5 resumes for the final 3 lines. They bound together a raft. They laid the cedar on it. Enkidu was helmsman, and Gilgamesh carried the head of Humbaba. And I think actually maybe it's a good part to stop.
I'm eating Sour Patch Kids.
Hey, is this thing on?
How are they?
It's me, Spruce. I'm recording an outro about 4 weeks after I recorded this video. I'm on call with my friends, and you might hear them.
Hi. I'm eating Sour Patch Kids.
Sour Patch Kids. Like and subscribe. I will... I'm gonna record more of this because I like just talking.
We can get like our good jokes.
Our good jokes. What was the one we had before? Joshin and Noshin. Joshin and Noshin. There it is. Okay. That's we'll start recording a series called Joshin and Noshin. But for now, this is the end the end of the first part of the first 6 tablets. 6? I didn't count. I apologize. The first number of tablets of Gilgamesh. Like and subscribe. Come talk to me about Gilgamesh. This stuff makes me crazy. I think it's really captivating. I just got a tattoo for it. I will talk about it nonstop every day of my life. And you should do that with me. And subscribe for me to do that also. Okay. Bye. Wait, does anyone have any last words? Smash the like button.
Stay tuned for the Mickey Mouse edition.
Yeah, we did do a fan cast of who in Disney is Enkidu and Mickey Mouse. So that's... I'm not gonna make a video about that shit. Don't sue us. Okay, for real this time, goodbye. Thanks for getting this far. I am genuinely shocked if you did. I appreciate it. And you know what? Hey. I love you. Eat a Sour Patch Kid.